All right. Hello, everyone. This is episode 1 of our podcast. I'm Robin Rogers. I have been working for Vacation Races almost since the beginning. I do content direction and I manage our communications as well. And then I'm here with Matt Anderson.
Hi, I'm Matt. I manage the social media for the ultras and the trail races. So that's Facebook and Instagram. Then help at the events and other things as well.
So we're starting this podcast out. We're really not sure what we want it to look like yet. We're just kind of trying stuff out. Our company, Vacation Races, if you're listening to this, you've probably heard of us. We put on beautiful races in beautiful places. So like I said, I joined pretty early on. The company started in 2012. Our first races were in 2013. And I joined at the end of 2013. So I've kind of been here for a while. Matt joined sort of early on. We started working with Matt Gunn when we started taking over the Ultras. Will you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I taught with Matt Gunn at Pineview Middle School in St. George, and he started a trail race, and we'd bounce ideas off of each other, what trails are the best, and he started his race, and I think he had Zion, Bryce, and he had started Antelope and Grand Canyon. I mean, I think he had 3 or 4 in the works. And I would look at his Instagram page and try to support him. And Matt's a genius at designing trails. He wasn't as good at marketing them.
Right.
So his Instagram page just had mediocre photos of it. Definitely didn't showcase how beautiful his courses were. So I asked if I could help with just Instagram, and he said, sure, of course. And that kind of led from Instagram to Facebook to emails to kind of the whole package, helping at the events. And that's how I started. And then you guys came along about a year later after that, and I've been here ever since.
Yeah. So I'm pretty jealous of you right now because you live in a place where there's lots of trails. I do not. Tell me how you've been coping with quarantine and stuff.
Yeah, so fortunately, like you mentioned, we have lots of trails, and Utah is allowing us at most trails. Some of those busy trailheads have closed.
Sure. But like the
Yeah.
lesser known ones, right?
So yeah, I try to find the ones that I know will have fewer people, and it's been good. I've got out probably more during the quarantine than before it,
That's
because
awesome.
my kids get a little stir crazy, and so we just go for a short little hike, and um, so it's been okay. I
Yeah,
mean, there's some things that aren't okay. Teaching my kids
totally.
working from home. Both Renee and I work from home, and now we have to also educate our children, and it's been a challenge. It's been rough, but it's been okay at the same time.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, we're pretty lucky in that, like, we work from home, we work remotely most of the time. Um, and so, work hasn't changed hugely, but, having other people at home, having kids to teach, that can really be disruptive. So, like I said, this podcast, sort of something that we wanted to try for a while. We're excited to be getting it jump started since we're stuck at home. We want it to be informational. We'll have an episode coming to you soon that's about the Bryce Canyon Race Guide. But we also want it to be fun. We want it to be stories that we tell a lot internally as staff. We want it to be your stories, and we want it to be mostly about vacationing and running, which is what we love. Before we sign off now, though, we're going to share just a couple stories that we like. Mine I've been thinking about quite a bit since Lyle and Dane did their live about Yellowstone and Teton.
Yeah.
Because what came up was one of my favorite foods in the whole world, which is jalapeno wontons at the Slippery Otter. Did you ever go to that, Matt? Have you experienced that?
No.
Oh, man. So the first time we go, our boss, Salem, who gets very excited about stuff, which is awesome. It's one of the greatest things about him. But he couldn't stop talking about these jalapeno wontons. Anyway, we finally go. He orders a whole bunch, and we're like fighting over them. They are one of the best things I've ever eaten. Fast forward a few years later, and I'm at Yellowstone, but Salem isn't. And so I sort of had to take the lead on the jalapeno wontons. So the waitress comes up and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, we need an order of that. I don't know, maybe 5 orders." And one of the crew that was with me like interrupts me and goes, "No, no, no. We need 10 orders." And he was right. It was the best, but I always just laugh at that. I love our crew and I love our staff. There's just a lot of camaraderie where we work, which I enjoy.
Yeah, so my story, it's a little bit different.
Mhm.
Mine kind of shows you the challenges of often the challenges of putting these races together that a lot of people don't see. A lot of a lot of people just think, oh, you just throw some flags on the trail and that's it. But there is so much that goes on behind
So
the scenes,
much.
and
Yeah.
it's so difficult at times. And so it was the Capitol Reef course, which we're not doing at the moment, but we've talked about restarting. And it's a rugged course. It is rough. One of the hardest courses that we've ever done. It was hard to run it. It was hard to host it because it's just wild country. It's one of the most remote areas in the state of Utah, to be honest.
Yeah. All of our races are
Um,
pretty remote, but the ultras are next
yeah,
level.
and so this is on top of Boulder Mountain, and I was asked to mark about 20 miles of the course. And I've marked courses before. I knew what I was doing, but I didn't know what I was getting into in this instance. So a lot of times when you mark, you can strategically drop extra markings, so you don't have to carry so much at the same time. But on this course, that wasn't an option. Once I was on the course, there wasn't really an exit strategy for me or a place for me to get resupplied until pretty close to the end. So I recruited my brother to help me, and we're packing, I don't know, 30, 40 pounds worth of markings. Um, it took a lot longer than I expected. So we ran out of food and water.
Oh
Um,
man.
we were still probably 8 miles, maybe 5 miles to the finish line. And I knew there was going to be one more aid station. And that's, I told my brother, okay, we just got to get to this aid station. There will be supplies. We can get water. We can get food. So we get to the aid station and there's nothing there. And I mean, just your internal reaction when, all your hopes have been on this one resupply aid station and there's nothing there. So
The worst.
fortunately, we had cell service. I called communications. I'm like, where is the aid station? We're dying. Like, seriously, you might have to call search and rescue for us.
Oh, call.
And it turns out that Salem, he was going to set this aid station up and he rolled the side by side into some ravine. So there wasn't going to be an aid station anymore.
Holy
Well,
crap.
it was pretty crazy. My brother sat down like I didn't know if he was going to get back up. Just we like, what are we going to do? They said they'd send an ATV to come pick us up if we could make it a few more miles down the course. So we start remarking. We keep going, and miraculously we stumble upon the wreckage of the side by side that Salem rolled into the ravine. And it's just carnage. There's totes and tents and bananas everywhere, Diet Coke, or, the soda that spilled out of the coolers. And that got us pretty much to the end. We did meet up with the race director, and he had an extra ATV. They were going to try to get the side by side out, which they did. I still don't know how they did it. A system of pulleys, I guess.
Yeah,
And
geez.
so we used the ATV to mark the last 5 miles of the course. It was pretty intense. And so my favorite part of the story is we get to the town of Torrey, Utah, and it's probably 9:30 or 10. We've been on the trail since 6 in the morning, and we're starving, obviously.
Yeah.
And we're driving through the entire town, and there is not one thing open, no gas stations, no restaurants. So we're like, now what? We just went to the hotel, and I had 2 oranges in our hotel room. We ate those and we crashed. So
Oh, call.
there's a lot of stories like mine
Uh-huh.
setting up these events. Like, it's just crazy what goes into it and the funny and crazy stories that happen while you're setting these events up and hosting them.
Totally. And the best ones seem to happen when everything goes horribly wrong, right? Those are
Yeah.
the stories we still tell each other. we're excited about this. Like we said, we're kind of just trying stuff out. But if you have ideas, comments, concerns, or just stories that you would like to share, please reach out. Email us at podcast@vacationraces.com. And then also visit vacationraces.com to learn more about us and see the latest news from our events. And we will see you next time.